Check 1, 2, 3. This is film reviews. Today's film is the Souvenir 2019 film. Okay, this is going to be a spoiler alert review. So if you haven't seen this film and want to be surprised, please don't listen to this. But if you want to hear the full review about this movie, continue listening. The story of this movie, according to Internet Movie Database, it says, quote, a young film student in the early 80s becomes romantically involved with a complicated and untrustworthy man, end quote. That is exactly what this movie is. If you just heard that, then you've pretty much watched the movie, because that's it. That's all it is. Now, the Souvenir does reference something at the end of the movie, which is a jacket, and there's a reason why that's important if you watch the movie. But I gotta say, as a review of this movie, I'm gonna start off with the things that I was disappointed with. I thought the movie, a lot of the scenes were a little too long. There were things in the film that weren't really helping move the story forward. I thought, there's also a rule that is for any movie. If you break this rule, then you're automatically not that great of a film. And this movie broke the rule. And that rule is nudity, like full nudity head to toe. If any movie has a scene where a character, male or female, is fully naked, then the movie has failed. And this movie, unfortunately, failed at that because of that. So, I won't get into the scene exactly, but let's just say it had nothing. It really didn't need to be in the movie at all. The main character of this film, The Souvenir, is... what's her name? Hold on here. Is it Julie? Yes, Julie is the main character. She is a girl who's not very smart when it comes to dating. She meets up with a guy who is a drug addict, and in her mind, she likes him because he looks successful. He looks older, he looks established, and that's her idea of a guy. Unfortunately, the reality is he doesn't really know her that well and only likes her because she's a girl. And he is a drug addict. And she doesn't really make a big deal out of it until later on in the movie when it gets really bad. So she's trying to write a short film for college, and I think what she's doing is she's hooking up with this guy so she can learn from him, have some kind of experience that will help tell a story for her class. So she's kind of using the relationship she has with him to create a story based on fictional characters and make it really serious. And that's what she does. She sleeps with him. They go out to dinner. It doesn't seem natural because I think she's forcing it to happen, and it's all for her to make a movie. And in some ways it's kind of making fun of film students and the whole film industry as a whole, because the person is trying to write a script and they're ruining their lives to do that. So I thought that was very interesting. And at the end of the film, the man dies because he overdoses on drugs, and she looks at the camera, and I think, to me, the reason she looks at the camera is because she's looking at the audience, looking at us, and pretty much saying, if I would have met a character who could tell me, like, don't do this, don't do that, break up with this guy, it would have helped. But I think also she looks at the camera because she's looking at us watching the movie, being like, this is what you want. This is what you wanted to watch. You wanted a story that was a disaster. And you got the documentary style, the long takes, the raw look at this kind of relationship you would see in most movies. That's my takeaway. Now, the film itself, I don't know if the director had another idea, but to me, I think the movie itself is kind of making the audience uncomfortable on purpose, because it's a dark story, and a lot of people like to go see movies that have dark stories, and this movie is saying, hey, this is a dark story, but it looks like it could be real. So there you go. I don't know. It's so hard to rate this movie. It's so hard to rate this movie. Part of me wants to give this a 5 out of 10 because it's kind of really slow paced and the story isn't very clear. But another part of me wants to give it an 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, because it has a certain point of view that it's making, I think. Maybe I could be wrong. I'm going to give it a 7. 7 out of 10. There it is. It's ridiculous. It's not that great, but it has an idea that I think could have been worked on a little bit more, and it had a bigger impact. It's very subtle in the point it's making. And my interpretation is that it's saying this kind of lifestyle is very bad, but when it's in a movie, you like it. So there it is.